After that, now we're still here. It's literally 10 seconds ago we stopped it, and now we're coming straight back into the flow of it. You got 3 minutes.
Mr. Wavy.
You got 3 minutes to explain to us what you meant.
3 minutes is a bit long. I'm not gonna lie, 3 minutes is a bit long.
You got 1.5 minutes.
You got one for time.
Yeah, but it takes 5 minutes for someone to do a crap. It takes 5 hours to clean it.
No, it doesn't.
You crapped in the show.
Stinger doesn't take 5 hours, bro.
I don't understand how these things relate at all.
No, basically,
I don't understand.
I feel like more what you said was a shubha, right?
What
did you say? What did you explain? I thought we were on the same page and asking the same question.
You guys don't know whether I'm being serious or whether I'm just being plain devil's advocate yet, do you?
I don't think you know yourself what you're doing.
Let's get it. So.
He's been diplomatic. He really has to get married.
The point I was making, is that the question was not is it good or is it bad for girls to wear hijab? That wasn't the question. The question was what's your personal preference? You get it? Yeah. And so you were saying that your personal preference is that you would prefer to marry a girl who wears hijab because it's an indication that her iman is higher, right?
No, not just that. The fact that you're a dayut if you want to marry a woman who doesn't wear hijab.
If you want to marry a woman who doesn't wear, cool.
Yeah, but and that man will go to Jannah.
Slow down. I completely agree with everything you said. Okay. Everything with that. I feel like you and I are talking about two different things.
Okay, what are you talking about?
I don't really split.
Okay.
What do you?
Guys, enough hand-holding. Let's move on.
Look, I was saying this. Look, for a guy to have a preference that he wants to I'm saying that there's two things there. One is a guy who wants to marry a girl who doesn't wear hijab. He wants to marry her because of the way she looks and because people can see her, blah, blah, all that kind of stuff. Then there's a guy who's open to all. He will consider all options. They will all come in and he will judge all of them, see how they are on an individual case-by-case basis. And it doesn't make him a dayut to say, okay, come approach me. I'll approach you, I'll see what you're like, and then we'll push towards in that direction.
No, I think it does make him a dayut.
Mr. Wavy, the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is unrestricted. You can't now restrict it and say, nah, he's not considered as a dayut. Why? Bring evidence. You have to bring evidence.
Before she marries you, is she a woman?
No, but if you're
what's the hadith? What's the hadith? Go on.
It's true because you might chat to her and be like, sister, by the way, you know, you have to do this.
You
she might say,
you say to her, listen, I'm going to marry you because I'm only going to marry you if you wear hijab. She came and she didn't wear hijab.
But then she's not on hijab anymore.
No,
she's not on hijab anymore. She's a hijab.
And what I was saying is that, listen, I'm not going to close the doors to girls who don't wear hijab on the basis that we can.
You must get married so badly.
No. But no, I did say at the beginning that I wouldn't marry a girl who doesn't wear hijab, and that works.
Azerbaijan bus.
I understand what he's saying.
Girl had the movie. Bus. We're moving on. Bus. Truck. Bus. Plane. Bus. Hatam. Girl had the movie. Okay, this is the next question. So moving on, yeah. And I want you guys to really understand the question before you answer.
You need to translate that for the people. I know there's a lot.
Bus basically in Urdu it means
stop.
They understand. I'm talking about.
So when I was saying bus, the thing. When I was saying bus, it means stop, and obviously you guys weren't getting the message. So I thought, let me take it to truck. That was just a joke. I don't know if you guys got it or not. If you got it.
They said plane
and then train, and then train's a private joke because for some reason. Anyway, so my next question I'm gonna ask you guys, and please understand the question before I ask it. Yeah, would you recommend? If a brother came to you and asked you, I want to marry someone, would you recommend them to marry within their own race, their own culture, or outside? Again, I'm not saying is it good to marry outside your own culture. I'm not saying is it permissible to marry outside your own culture. I'm saying would you personally, as a better, would you tell them marry within or marry outside as the better option? It's the Ihsan right now. You're giving the better option. You're saying which one you believe is better. Marry within your own. Why is that wrong?
No, I'm just interested like the way Sarf benefited you, huh?
Yeah, you're doing that, inshallah. Yeah. So strides, would you say
okay,
within?
I'm giving the direct answer. I can
just right now. All I want to hear is within or outside.
I love it.
When there's secret.
No, I think he meant to say something else.
I don't believe.
No, in fiqh, in the Hanafi madhab, they do istihsan, which is when you said sarf, I got confused. I was like, I didn't even take it from sarf. I took it from fiqh.
I thought you meant
No, I took it from.
It's fine. Try. Answer the question.
So, would you recommend someone to marry within or outside of? Just one word, or it is within is one word.
I would recommend to marry within your culture, but not even recommend. I would say marry within your own culture.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say as much as you can, stay inside your own culture.
Okay.
Even other tribes and other like denominations, stay within your own one, innit? If you're Punjabi, marry a Punjabi girl, bro.
What would you recommend? Not which, not. Oh,
Not
is it-
you to another brother.
You would recommend
You're
it.
safe. You're safe, inshallah.
Your time's up.
It
Wait,
Nah, it depends, but generally
Allah.
speaking, stay in.
okay. Yeah. I'm saying just which one do you believe is better?
Okay, so I'll answer that question by asking a question. Yeah? Because I'm the last one in it, so now I can spark.
Yeah.
If you're saying that we should recommend you like you said, you should only marry in your own culture, then what about reverts? What about reverts?
We'll come to that.
We'll
No,
come to that.
that's
We're going to
afterwards. We're gonna
exceptions.
come to that. We're gonna come to that.
inshallah.
We have
exceptions.
everyone gives their.
You
listen,
want to
one
do
second.
what exception?
One second. One
No, he's
second.
mentioning
Bus,
exceptions, yeah.
truck.
La
Bus.
hawla wa la
Listen,
quwwata illa
what I'm saying is, look, this is how it's gonna work. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have understood. We've done it 3 times. Everyone gives their answer. Everyone gives their individual tafsir, and then we discuss
Yes.
different
Okay.
aspects of it. So the reverse issue will come in the 3rd round, which is different aspects of it. Right
How
now,
long is this one going
answer.
for?
Let's just each one's about 5 minutes.
Let's just go.
Yeah.
Go on.
Generally speaking, marry within your own culture.
Okay, now you give the seal.
Okay, so the
Tafsir
reason,
means detail.
the reason that I say, okay, or rather I'd recommend, by the way, I'm no one. I'm not a sheikh or alim.
One
Strides.
We knew that.
Strides.
Strides.
I don't think
Okay.
anyone.
You know what I
feels
love
otherwise.
is how Ustad like says his name Strides.
Huh? Strides.
You imagine if we was to introduce him to the Mashayikh, Wallah would say Sheikh, what Strides?
Strides.
Ismuhu
Yeah, he said
Strides.
that.
Well, Akhuna Strides.
I think you know when Sheikh Faisal Al-Jassim came, Hafizullah,
Yeah.
he said, yeah, this is Strides.
Who said
I
that?
think so.
And
Yeah,
then-
I think we
yeah,
started saying that when we were in the
Ustad.
room. Okay,
Imagine if Sheikh Salih Fawzan, Masmo,
I-
it's me Strides, your Sheikh.
tafsir issue.
Okay, so the reason I would say that is for a couple of reasons. Okay, first being that first and foremost, I don't believe that marrying within your culture is something that's bad. It's good, but there's certain scenarios where it can now become not recommended.
Okay.
From my perspective, one of those is because you have to understand, as much as people like to say or don't like to say or whatever, marriage is not just between you and the girl. Okay, 2 families are coming together. Okay, and you need to understand, especially from a brother's perspective, okay, because you need to understand the sister is leaving her family, who she grew up with, okay, who fed her, who gave her everything that she has. She's leaving a habitat where she's used to, okay, and she's coming into a new environment now where she's not used to. So now let's take Methalan, for example. There's a brother.
So I want to change my answer, by the way, but
There's a brother who is Bengali, okay, and there is a sister who is Somali, for example. They want to get married to each other. Now we have to
Very
understand.
Somali
Hey,
sister,
you should have just told us that, right, man?
Hey, that's
Should've
coming
been
out
straight
now,
about it,
mate.
man.
Somali or
You should've told us,
Somaliland?
innit?
Ibn al-Qayyim said that the tongue scoops up, like she said, the heart.
Somali or Somaliland?
Bengali brother, Somali sister.
Brother has a
Sister,
question.
sister, if you're
Or
watching this.
Djibouti.
Huh?
Somali,
Oh, we
Somaliland,
learned,
Djibouti.
yeah, so that taught us in
Shilando.
the D block.
Shilando. Man said D block.
That's the name of a
Yeah,
tribe.
There's a tribe called D block.
That's the nickname of a
I
tribe.
thought it was a gang or something.
Yeah, wallah.
Okay, so
No, which one? Answer the question.
Huh?
Somali, Somaliland, or Djibouti?
No, neither. Inshallah, I'm gonna marry someone who is Bengali. Inshallah.
Why not Somali?
Huh?
Why not?
Let him explain. Let him explain. He's
He's
explaining
gonna
right
tell you
now.
exactly
He's telling
why.
us right now.
So what has to be understood is now, look, this Somali sister is going to, and this is the example I'm giving because the example makes it clear, okay? So the Somali sister now is going to come into the household full of Bengalis.
Okay.
She's coming from a culture which is Somali. She's used to,
Why does she have to come into the house of Bengalis? Why doesn't the husband get a house separate?
Okay,
He's saying that's a
forget about
plausible
the house.
scenario.
Forget about the house.
Plausible,
I'm talking
very
about the 2
possible
cultures
situation.
are now coming together. One culture is one way, one culture is the other way. First and foremost, language barrier. Okay, imagine
But they don't
now.
speak English. Barrier means you can't get over it.
No, but
My mum can speak English.
Sorry, you're right. I'm sorry. Go on. My bad.
So
Can she?
marry
I'm
your
sorry.
mum?
I'm sorry.
No, look, you know I'm not allowing.
let the guy talk,
It's
let
like
the
I'm
guy
trying
talk.
to explain to you.
let
who
him,
has-
let him talk completely, and then we'll grill him.
Nah, inshallah, that doesn't happen. Okay, so now, first and foremost, the sister's gonna come in. I'm talking a language to my mum. Whenever she's around my mum, if we have our own house, we go over to guess whatever it may be. I have my own language that I'm going to conversate with my mum because my mum doesn't understand English to a good level. Okay, so now when I'm conversating with my mum or my mum is conversating with me, the sister's going to feel like an outsider in this conversation. That happens to any one of us. If you're speaking a language I don't understand, I automatically feel like an outsider because I don't know what you're talking about.
Even right now when you guys are whispering to each other, I was like, whoa.
Okay, because
private
already
child.
there's that element of exclusion, like, wow, yeah, we have this kind of code that we talk, and you don't know what we're talking about. Already there's that sort of exclusion that's there. Okay, that's the first thing, so language barrier. Second thing, there's so many things within a culture that someone
There's
can't...
a time limit as well, yes.
Yeah, someone can't just get used to that culture, like... Honestly speaking, like
Greatest fights.
yeah, that's the biggest. That's what I'm trying to say. There's going to be much
Friction
more.
between the
I
cultures.
believe there is a bigger mafsada, a bigger harm that can come from it, than a maslaha, a bigger benefit that's going to come out of it. Okay, and that's the person. But that's not me saying
Don't marry
if
her.
your family. And another thing is, okay, we
This
have
is
to
your last
add.
point now, yeah. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
another thing is that we have to add is that a lot of brothers and sisters, they get into haram relationships here with someone who's outside of a culture. Haram relationship in and within itself is haram anyways. But now we've got
Really?
now we've got an issue where brothers and sisters from different cultures, they fall in love with each other or whatever it may be, they catch feelings. And now they're trying to bring it into a halal way. But look, the families are now saying, no, you can't. She's from this place, and we're Bengali, she's Somali.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not having that.
Yeah.
That's obviously that's not correct for them to
That's
do.
wrong
and
as well,
whatnot.
yeah.
Nah, but look at the issue that's now come. Okay, the family is not willing to accept the sister because she's from another background. I forgot what I was gonna mention.
Okay, anyway. But at the same time, on that point,
Honestly, yeah.
because it could be the fact that even if someone might turn around and say, but look, even if it was the same culture, my parents would still reject it.
Nah,
But that's the
of course.
point where, it's more likely if they're outside of the culture. I agree with you.
Okay, so there's two things that we need to talk about here. One is the marriage proceedings, and the other is the actual marriage.
Okay.
The actual marriage I'm not going to speak on because I'll touch on it lightly, which is that the man will marry the woman, and whatever they do inside their marriage is theirs, isn't it? Like, I'll touch on it in a second. But the marriage proceedings in and of themselves, yeah, bro, the kind of long situations that you might have to get into, which you just don't have the patience for, it's going to be unexpected. In your own culture, at least you know about it. At least you know, okay, they're going to have this rukhsati and this mendi, whatever.
No, even that. Like
these
in,
things,
like in Pakistani
these back and forth proceedings, you may not have the patience to deal with them. This is just getting in, just trying to actually marry the girl. You feel me? So it's better if you understand, you know where to be patient and where not to be patient. You know where to give leeway and where not to give leeway. You know, you're only gonna have that kind of nuance if you understand it, if you've lived that culture, if you've lived that life. That's the way you're gonna get that. Now, in regards to the actual marriage, the reason why I wouldn't really give preference, or rather, I wouldn't really be open to marry girls who are from cultures that are very dissimilar to mine, is literally just because of inside jokes. Like, I want to have a nice time in it. She's not really going to understand the jokes that I make in my house with my culture, and
So
I'm not
give
going
me
to
an
understand the jokes that she makes
example of a Sial court inside.
No, I'm not saying
joke.
Sialkot. So Sialkot is specific to a city or a town or whatever.
Okay.
I'm saying Pakistani as a whole, innit?
Huh?
Yeah, get my
Government.
look.
No, give me
I'm
an
saying the
example.
country, like the Pakistani culture,
Oh,
I
give an
really
example.
like it.
Give an example
And so
of
I want a
inside
girl who I can't. I'm not gonna do that. I'm saying
no, do it with us,
there's
what was I do?
there's many examples that I can come up with. That
Like, you could just sit there with your wife and you say to her, what's mushroom in Punjabi? And then she goes, you can start laughing, innit? Like, it's just funny,
You have to
innit?
explain that.
I would-
You have to explain
I
that.
would-
You have to
Wait,
explain
no.
that.
How about this?
One sec.
Brothers and sisters, how do you say mushroom in Punjabi? Put it in the comments. How do you say mushroom?
Listen, I need to
in
clarify
Punjabi?
something.
Spad para, which basically means bad
I need
fart.
to clarify something.
Go on.
By the way, just because I use the example of Somali doesn't mean I hate Somalis. Wallahi, by Allah, I love the Somali culture.
Two of the greatest, most beloved people to all of us is Ustad Abdurrahman
And Guled.
Nah.
and Guled.
And I have a.
We
very
go to
close
their
friend
yard,
who's
we
also
eat their
Somali.
food. Oh, yeah.
Right, daily.
Man, I went
And he
out
actually
my
made
weekend, learned
Somalian
some
tea.
words yeah, look, Somali
I'll
tea.
give
He
you
made
the-
Somali tea.
That's how in
I know
Strides
so
made
many
it.
Somali words.
And
Ma'an,
Satay.
Baris, Halab,
Fana.
Sukar.
Bastard.
I know it's there. No, I
No,
love
Hey.
So the point I'm making, yeah.
the only tea, man.
There's like, for example,
Even here, yeah.
there's elements from every culture that I really despise, even from my own culture. But I know where to be patient with them because I know them.
Hey,
You
no
understand?
problem, no
And
problem.
with other cultures, I won't be able to, and it will lead to fights.
Oh, okay.
You understand?
Son, you go to see.
it. Jump in the Somali.
Can I change my answer?
What was your answer in the beginning?
culture.
And
You know, I know it's everything I'm gonna say. He says.
No, do you know what? Because usually, like the way I like to do these shows is that I get told all these questions in advance, so I can actually think properly.
Today's it's all spontaneous.
It's all spontaneous. So I might
for
say
one of the
that-
episodes, I actually changed the topic after
As
we
we
started
started.
it, and I said the topic for today is, and I just changed
That's
it there
what
and
happens when
then.
you give an authority.
Okay,
Dictator in the house.
But my initial answer would actually be this. Okay, is that if you ask me if I would marry someone outside the culture, right?
That wasn't the question.
No, I'm saying if you'd ask me,
Which is why clearly I said at the
Right.
beginning.
if you ask
Wait,
me,
what was the
understand the
question? What was the
it doesn't matter.
Would you
I'm
recommend?
gonna answer.
Oh, okay.
If
Yeah.
you ask me, I wouldn't, and I'll give my reasons for that.
Okay.
Okay. But if somebody else was to come up to me and ask me, then I would say it's your choice. Okay. And it goes back to the reason as to why I wouldn't do that. Okay.
I changed my answer as well.
Okay, and I explained and I explained to you why. Forget about coming from two different cultures, right? I've noticed in my own marriage, me and my wife, we come from the same culture. We're both Pakistanis, right? But just based upon the way we were raised, okay, and the household that she was raised in and the household that I was raised in, we have a lot of things that clash with one another. So when it comes to in a marriage life, having kids, doing everything, sometimes forget about Quran and Sunnah. There are things that will happen, an issue will pop up, and there's nothing to do with the Quran and Sunnah. But she'll have a certain perspective of it, and I'll have a certain perspective, and we'll clash heads on that issue, right?
but-
I'm saying if it was two different cultures, then the likelihood of that happening would be even greater.
Yeah, I agree.
You see what I'm saying? And for that reason, I wouldn't. But there are certain people that don't mind clashing heads, and they like the fun. They like to fight with their wives. And if you want to do that, go ahead and.
Who likes to fight with their
I'm
wives?
not gonna lie.
Are they
I'm
are
not
they
gonna
brothers?
lie. There are certain sisters out there that like to fight with their husbands because they like the way they get angry.
They like drama, like.
I'm not gonna. They like that drama.
Some it's usually people.
I believe you. I'm just
Do
saying.
you understand? But
Without
from
drama,
my
they don't like-
perspective,
That's the kind of drama I don't want.
It's like yeah.
but
There's one new gossip.
He basically
you want
said
to generate gossip.
He's sneakily giving you guys his conditions. By the way, I don't like sisters that like drama.
I wasn't.
But my
my
point
God.
being is that in that situation, if a person is okay, right, with dealing with that, then by all means, if you're looking to bend your ways and
Why
etc.
did you just lick the cup?
It's dripping.
Guys, I'm talking.
Sorry.
Very rude. Very rude.
Very
Right.
Naughty.
He did it.
Naughty. Naughty.
Okay, but I'm saying if you're okay with going through that struggle and know that eventually you'll make it, then go ahead and get married. Go outside the culture.
Yeah.
There is khair in it. As for me, I wouldn't personally do that. Yeah.
Go in.
Okay. So I think inshallah ta'ala.
By the way,
This is the last question for this, by the way. We're not going to do any more.
There is. Next video.
Oh, we can do more videos on this.
Yeah,
Oh, we should do one every month on this and
let's
answer
just-
different questions.
This is the month where people don't want marriage.
I
innit?
feel
Oh,
that was
Valentine's.
just
February,
Yeah.
innit?
But we don't believe Valentine's Day.
Oh, that's
Four
what I'm
parts.
saying.
Four
It's
parts.
there, innit?
February. Bang
Nah,
out.
we're just gonna go in the next question. I'll tell you now. Would you have a second wife? If not, why not?
Okay, go on, carry on.
do you want to do that right now?
Yeah, right after this.
Oh, no, not like after this.
After this.
No, I'm too
Right.
tired, man. Let's get
Salah.
fast.
Yeah, of course we're gonna pray. No,
No.
of course we're gonna pray.
I'm going to bounce after that.
I'm gonna give my answer. Let me give my answer.
Give you an answer.
So, I retract my previous answer. He asked me.
You didn't even answer your question, did you?
No, I answered.
You actually answered by saying.
He asked me, "Would you marry someone?"
No, I didn't. See, you
You
didn't know
said-
what I asked you. And that's why at the
What-
beginning I
what
made it
question-
very
what-
clear what
the
my question was. I said, if someone came to you
Yeah.
and asked you, which would you recommend? Which do you
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
to be afdal, like
Yeah.
better than the other one? Which one
Marry
is
in
better?
the culture or outside the culture?
Yes,
And I said marry in the culture, right?
yes.
I take it back.
You take it back. Okay. Why'd you take it back?
We're gonna get into a
Because
teacher.
what I was doing was I was giving my own personal preference, and I should not impose my personal preference on specific people's situations.
But of course, your
Rather,
personal
I
preference
want to
would
give. I want to give because this is not Kitab Sunnah.
love for your brother, you love yourself.
No, but
Yeah, that's why I
But for example,
I want
some
to
brothers like
avoid that
sisters
stress. So I'm
that
telling you.
are like, for example, like chubby, and some brothers like sisters who are like skinny. Some brothers like sisters who are. This is not Quran Sunnah. This is preference.
Yeah.
It's not Quran and Sunnah. We have to assess it. So I'm going to break it down for you like this, inshallah. Compatibility is very important, and as my brother mentioned, that forget religious differences, forget cultural differences. Like they're just personal differences. Like for example, what each party to the couple understands to be neat, and what each party understands to be messy. Like for example, my wife, for her, messy is one drop of water out of the sink falling onto the floor, like one splash. It's like, do you understand? This is a big obstacle in our relationship. And
And what's your version of Messi?
my version of Messi is like, you know, like
70% of the floor is covered in water.
no, like
Is this Messi to
yeah,
you?
this
right now?
for me, this is not. It's untidy.
I think the table's
This is
untidy as well.
acceptable.
It's
I think
untidy.
it's untidy too.
No, but I'll work, I'll live. But my wife is like this.
You guys need to see my room, bro.
Like she would go in with this. Bruv, stop it. I saw your room. Very nice. Allah barik. Very clean, tidy.
It was clean and tidy.
That's tidy.
The day you
Okay,
went-
good. For me, that's tidy. You see different. You see difference. For me, that was nice.
Whoa!
You see, Ajib. You're Ajib. Anyway,
Whoa!
it's straight. The point I'm making is that what you might perceive to be messy and tidy, that you can have big issues over that. So compatibility is very important. Do you understand? So what about differences in culture? Which is, and remember, a culture is a particular mode in which you've been raised your whole life, and now you're being told to clash with another. So that can create problems. So what I would say is this: if you are cultural, please, I beg you, marry someone from your culture.
I disagree with
If you are not cultural, then marry
like that.
someone
I like that.
who's from any other culture,
Yeah.
provided they are also not
Not
cultural.
cultural, yeah.
So this is my advice to the reverts.
I like that.
Marry a non-cultural Muslim. I would advise reverts, do not marry into like a Pakistani girl, for example, or a Pakistani guy, for example, and he is cultural. Find that one that is not cultural, okay? Now, if you are cultural, my brother or my sister, and your family is cultural as well, Allahu Akbar, make sure you marry someone who's in that same culture. Because if you don't,
Stress.
black magic.
Stress.
No, black magic.
No, black magic.
Yeah, all kinds of stress.
Black magic.
It's still stress.
Yeah, that's what the sus, the mother-in-law says. 1 second.
Oh.
Is it sus or sauce?
Sauce. It's like, you know, we throw a bit
Sauce.
of, you know,
Sauce.
Sauce.
a wing of an owl.
Sword.
And, you know, like a...
You know, you're joking about it, but real talk, that's not a joke.
Look,
I didn't mean to joke about it.
I
That's
know,
what she's
I
going
know,
to do.
yeah, I know. It's
I'm being
scary.
serious.
It's
That's what they'll
scary.
do.
Man said
Shit.
wing of an owl. Where'd
That's
you
what
get an
they'll
owl?
do.
Yeah, yeah.
Where,
I thought you being serious.
Where's an owl from?
I was in a whip.
Wild owl. Where
I was in a whip when there was a falcon in the back
believe
that someone was going to sacrifice for a shaitan.
Yeah, yeah,
I didn't know
well,
about it though, otherwise
well,
I
I-
refuted it.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Listen,
Wait, why are you in the car? Where?
Can
I didn't know I was a kid. I was young.
Oh, okay.
Can I explain why I changed my answer?
Wasn't your family, was it? You should clarify, it wasn't your family.
Go on.
Yeah.
Go on.
So the reason I'm changing my answer is not because my personal preference still remains.
It
But
sounds like
the-
you're convinced.
the
in
question
conversation.
that-
Yeah, at
we
the
asked.
beginning you were like, oh, that's not my preference.
Time's up, bro.
I'm saying that, huh?
Time's up.
Okay,
It's
last
up
week
for-
and
it's been
then
up for 15 minutes.
15.
Yeah. So you might as well just.
Okay, no, wait, listen, let me,
Okay.
I just wanna hear what you have to say.
I'm going to leave the shot now because I'm very tired.
Nah, everyone has to firm it.
You
Okay,
get-
so
everyone has to
This is
firm it.
your
Get on
rule.
the-
You
get
said to
on-
us in the
get
beginning.
on that table,
I have
bro.
back problems.
Yeah, so
You had pillows.
the reason I alter my answer is because one thing that has to be understood is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, Allah said that we created you and, you know, split you into different tribes and nations so that you may get to
لتعارفوا.
know each other. So you may get to know one another, okay?
Mhm.
So,
You can know each other without getting married.
Yeah.
no, but I'm saying when you get married
And are
to
you saying when you
someone,
say you
them-
get to know each
them
other?
better
Even
than-
better. Mm.
Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So now, if your family is all up for it, and there's no problems between both families, they're all up for the cultural bringing together, and they don't have a problem with it, then I'd recommend.
But that's
that
it's
person.
not again. That's an
No,
exception.
that's what I'm trying to say. Though everyone were exception.
No, I agree with him. I don't think it's
Why is that an exception?
You think generally speaking families will be okay with that? I think
There
generally
are
speaking
some.
families
no,
are
there
not.
are.
No,
How many
no,
brothers
no.
do we know personally?
No,
that
we're living in a we're living in a day
Either way, he's
we're living in a
giving
day and age
perspective.
where Muslims.
It's not- it's
Yeah.
not-
And one second, let me
it's not,
defend. Let me defend Strides.
No,
We're
let
li-
he can defend
No, I can
himself.
defend myself.
He can defend himself.
I'm attacking him.
We've got.
You are attacking him.
Yeah, you
Let
are.
him defend
I
himself.
wasn't
How is
attacking
he
him.
taking
Can I
this
say
as
one
an
thing, please?
exception?
I was asking a question.
Let me
No,
finish.
no,
If I
no.
don't say it, then you can say it.
Hey, no problem. That's perfect.
Okay. So, like I was mentioning,
That's just
No, go on. Let's try to say it. After him, I'm in the show. Carry on.
so like I was mentioning, if your families are all up for it, then by all means, I think is a very, very good thing to do. Okay, because bringing the cultures together, mixing and whatnot, getting to know one another, it builds that relationship between culture. Because look, there's a lot of racism within our cultures. We have to understand that.
Very true.
And the way that we can tackle this is for one another to get to know each other. What better way is it for two families to come together and look at how each because I know personally people in my family who are racist towards people from other cultures.
Pakistanis, for example.
Okay,
Like even
and that's because they don't know what this culture entails. Like for example, I get really offended sometimes when some people from my family will talk about Somalis, because they will talk about Somalis in a way which is not nice.
Yeah.
And I have personally, my closest companions are from Somalia, and I get really offended because you're saying this about, but if you've met this person, and subhanallah, it's like, that's why I would say it's very good if you both of the families are up for it to do it. Okay, I would even recommend that more than marrying someone within your own culture, because there's so much khair that can come out of it, wallahi. And that's...
Bro, you really changed your
Yeah, he went.
You know,
he went-
You know why? Because the ayah came to my head, innit? So I have to...
Because that's what you call.
Submit our thought.
Now, that's the end of the show.
No,
I'm
wait,
joking.
I just really want to stress to brothers and sisters. Look, Shar'an, there's nothing wrong with marrying different cultures, but it's sometimes not about what's right and what's wrong. It's about what's the lesser of two evils. If you are cultural, please, like I said,
It depends on your situation.
yeah.
No.
If you are cultural, I would highly recommend you do not bring someone into your life that you are just not going to be able to get on with. It's not fair on them, and at the end of the day, it's going to be difficult pain for you. Do you understand? But if you're a person who isn't cultural, you know, you're what you call bicultural. You've got like a bit of the, you know, British Muslim culture, and you've got your like back home culture, and it's kind of like, you know, you kind of moved on. That's alright. Do you understand what I'm saying? But yeah, man, I forgot what I was going to say.
That's perfect. Alhamdulillah.
Perfect.
So let's leave it there, inshallah. If there are any other questions that you want us to discuss relating to marriage or even any other topics,
Let us know if you want the
down
next
below.
video to be on. Would you like to marry a second
The
wife?
only issue is
No, I wouldn't. My answer quickly is I wouldn't.
my question is when is this video even coming out? This one we just recorded.
I don't know.
Soon.
February.
But by the time they comment and we record the next batch,
We
it's going to
wouldn't
be...
We'll wait.
We'll wait for them.
Okay, no problem.
Tell
So-
me, do you want us to talk about second wife?
But this is going to come out in February, so by the time we record it, it's going to come out in March.
Doesn't matter,
It's
it's
calm.
okay.
It's calm.
Just make
Just
sure you
comment down
comment
below.
in the bottom how you say mushroom in Punjabi. Make sure you just put that down there. Just
Bad bara.
Make
You
sure
heard
you
it here first. So, on that, we're going to love you and leave you, inshallah. Until next time, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.